Hello, everyone, and welcome to the press conference for Penguin Bloom. I'm Cameron Bailey, the Artistic Director and co-head of TIFF, and I'm so glad you could be here today with the cast and creators of this film to discuss a remarkable true life story.
Hi, everyone. I'm Joanna Vicente, Executive Director and co-head of TIFF. Thank you for being here today. We've been having such a great week so far, filled with insightful talks with talent like Viola Davis, Halle Berry, and Luca Guadagnino, as well as seeing new and exciting films screen every day.
It really has been an eventful and inspiring couple of days, even so far. So in addition to watching what's on offer in this year's official selection, we encourage you to get in on the conversation and share your thoughts and best festival moments as well across social platforms. You can use at @TIFF_net and the hashtag TIFF20. Now, Penguin Bloom screened for TIFF audiences for the first time just a few hours ago, but if you're able, I do encourage you to check out this evening online at Bell Digital Cinema or later next week at TIFF Bell Lightbox for those of you in Toronto.
Today's conversation will be moderated by Anne Thompson, editor-at-large at IndieWire. Anne has been a contributor to the New York Times, Washington Post, The Observer, and Wired. She has served as film columnist at Variety and deputy editor of Variety.com, as well as the deputy film editor at The Hollywood Reporter, the West Coast editor of Premiere, senior writer at Entertainment Weekly, and West Coast editor for Film Comment. Please join me in welcoming Anne, and I hope you enjoyed today's conversation and the rest of the festival.
Thank you for having me, and I join a lot of others in applauding all of you for being able to mount this extraordinary film festival under duress this year. I've been enjoying it, and I know all of you have too. Welcome to the virtual TIFF press conference for the true family story, Penguin Bloom. And I can tell you, it's a real tearjerker. It made me cry several times. And before we get started, for those of you who are participating in the press conference, please text your questions in the chat box, and we'll try to answer them when we get to the Q&A portion after about half an hour of talking to this extraordinary group of creators. We have on our panel two Oscar nominees, Naomi Watts, from 21 Grams and the Impossible, and Jackie Weaver, Animal Kingdom and Silver Linings Playbook. And we also have BAFTA nominee Andrew Lincoln, who I fondly watch every Christmas in Love Actually, but we also know him from carrying Walking Dead for 8 seasons. And I also want to welcome the filmmaker, Glendon Ibben, and the producers, Bruna Papandrea and Emma Cooper, and the people whose story they are telling. Please welcome Sam and Cameron Bloom.
Thank you.
So first, I'm going to start out with the magpie, okay? I want to ask the actors, did you ever expect a bird to steal your movie? All of you, go for it.
Hi, thanks for
Naomi.
By the way, shall I say? Yeah, I was nervous. That was the thing that made me nervous. It was like, how do we get a performance out of a bird? And, you know, like magpies are famously not super friendly. It was concerning to me, and they walked me through it and said, no, we're going to do it with trained birds. We're going to do it with a little bit of animatronics and a little bit of CGI. Now, I think Glendon knows better than me, but we ended up only with a small amount of animatronics and CGI. Mostly, I would say somewhere 90-something% was the true real life birds. And they absolutely stole the scenes every single day. And it was a matter of getting used to them. I had a great icebreaker story for that I'm happy to share with you, where pretty much on the first day, the bird was on my head and yeah, chirping away. And next thing you know, you feel a nice warm sensation trickling down your face, which I was like, ah! And sure enough, went all the way down and landed straight in my mouth. So there we go.
So Jackie, what was it like having a bird be part of your scenes? I mean, there's a lot of, this is a family drama. There's 3 boys, there's the grandmother, there's the husband and wife. I mean, there's a lot of people in these scenes, and you're dealing with the bird half the time.
Yeah, the logistics were quite complicated, and I think it speaks to how well Glendon managed the whole thing, because it really did get complicated with those birds. But on top of that, we had 3 little boys who were incredibly energetic. But they were exhausting.
Andrew, how was it for you working with the bird?
Well, they always say never work with children or animals, and you know, and the reason is because when they're good, no one's going to be looking at you. So. And in this case, we had an incredibly compelling. We had how many? 7 or 10 birds, Glendon?
Yeah.
So Glendon, you take over. How many birds were there, and how did it work? I mean, they had to be different ages. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, we had the story of Penguin Bloom. We introduced a penguin first as a little baby bird that's fallen out of a tree, and we follow her story right through to when she's an adult. And we had multiple birds playing all of those different age groups, I guess. And each bird, trained as well as you can. A magpie, these are kind of wild birds. They're able to do different things. So we would bring in and substitute each bird depending on what scene we were doing. And they're they are they're trainable. But I guess in a lot of cases, even for things that they might have been trained and rehearsed to do things from, for weeks or months leading up to the scene, they may never get it. Like this wouldn't have happened. Other times they'd hit it straight away. And more often than not, the penguins would do things that we just had you'd never expect, and it would actually be much better, and you'd have to adapt, and the whole cast would have to adapt around what the bird was doing. Penguin is a wild bird in the story, and was kind of treated as a wild bird on set. We had to sort of go with what Penguin wanted to do a lot of the time.
So Sam, I wanted to ask you if you could walk us through how this magpie, how this bird helped to pull you out of your depression after your horrible accident.
Well, I think when we found Penguin, she was so cute. And when we brought her home, she just brought like a bit of excitement and happiness into our house, which was very lacking. When I came home from hospital, I sort of had like a dark cloud following me around everywhere, and I sort of, made everyone sad. So Penguin just brought a bit of joy into our lives, which was lovely.
So Cameron, you were trying to you were telling this story that was really happening in various different forms. I was fascinated. You had a photography book, you had an Instagram account, and then you went to Badly Grieved to write this book. How did you find the filmmakers to tell your story?
I think we sent a book to Emma, who was friends with Naomi, and I think it sort of happened organically that way, and Naomi loved the book, and then eventually Andy loved the book and realised that he'd already had the book when he got the script. So, yeah, it was just a really nice progression.
So, Emma, why did you want to make this movie? And why was Bruna the right collaborator to help you out with this? Maybe Wild had something to do with it. I don't know.
I think, look, first and foremost, it was, an incredible sort of true story, and that tragedy is something that I sort of responded and connected to right away. But then I think it, as a filmmaker, you're given you don't only have the story with Penguin Bloom, but Cameron's photos gave you that immediate access into that world. So it was sort of there, kind of right in front of you. And then this connection between Sam and the bird, this bird that literally fell out of the sky in her greatest hour of need. I thought that was, a story that everyone could respond to. And I'm a very good friend of Bruna's. We've been friends for a long time, and obviously have a lot of respect for her, and just love everything she's done. And there was no one else I thought of. I just sent it to her right away.
Bruno, what were some of the producing challenges on this movie? I mean, it's actually, and Glendon, it's an incredibly difficult thing to pull off, actually, isn't it?
Is Bruno there?
I can't hear Bruno.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Oh, good. Okay, sorry. Hi. Yeah, well, making movies is challenging, full stop. And as you know, it's gotten more and more difficult to get these, beautiful independent movies made. But this one, just like the wind was on our backs. I think Penguin was on our backs, and so every piece just came together. Naomi and Emma and I have been friends for 25 years. I know we look younger, but it's cool. And we had tried for so long to collaborate, and this felt like exactly the right thing. We all had exactly the same reaction. And from there, every collaborator that we gathered, and the kind of generosity of the Blooms, it was actually quite a fast process for independent films. And, I think the challenges are always just, when you have something so distinctive that is really not like anything you've seen. Yes, it's a story of, of the challenge that Sam faced, but it also, has a bird, and then there's children. And so it's hard for people to put this movie in a box. That's what excited us, and certainly me. And I think sometimes that's the challenge of making other people see that in order to get something made. But the actual making of it was quite dreamy.
So Glendon, from your perspective, you've done a lot of big scale television, a lot of demanding things, but what was really difficult about this, besides the bird, but that probably was the most difficult thing?
I guess I guess as a filmmaker, and I guess it's always remembering that this is a real story, and that the people who we're making the story about, this is a story that deeply affected them, and they're still around, and it's not only just we're making a story about one person. It's a married couple. It's their 3 children, and we shot the film in their house. So it's sort of on one level incredibly invasive, and exploratory as far as a filmmaking process. And I guess it's just reminding ourselves that, we're telling a real story, and that Cam and Sam were incredibly generous in handing this story over to us. I guess that's the thing that's always in my mind. Other than that, it's the logistics of working with kids and animals is something that you don't really know how difficult it is until you're, I'll say until you're on set and it's actually happening in front of you. So, going good and bad.
So Naomi, you decided you wanted to produce this also, and you made a movie that was really accessible to a very wide audience. Was it challenging getting the screenplay in the right kind of shape in terms of having the child tell the story and making it accessible to everyone?
Yeah, I mean, that was absolutely our focus. I remember when I read the book or looked at the book, it was a Sunday morning, lazy day in bed, and I was showing my kids, the book, and they were absolutely drawn in that instant. And of course, I was really compelled by not only the images, but the story and how Sam's journey went into the recovery place, and having come from dark places. And that, just as an actor, you're looking for that kind of role all the time, that someone who has an incredible trajectory. And then, between Bruna, Emma, and I, it was important to find the right writer. And of course, Bruna led the charge there, and we found a great writer, and then another writer, Harry Cripps and Sean Grant. And it really came together really beautifully. And we wanted to encompass all of the great feelings, that this is a movie that can tap into many different worlds. It's for children, it's for family, and it's a story of survival and resilience and hope as well, which is very universal, I think.
Yeah,
and
go
I
ahead.
think everyone falls in love with easily when there's a creature there. Like there's something magical and beautiful about that.
Well, there's something about this time that we're in, the pandemic, the fire season, everything that's going on. There's something about this movie that I think a lot of people are going to relate to in a universal way, in terms of learning how to adapt to things that maybe we never thought we would confront in our lives. Do you think that's true? Anybody? Jackie, maybe?
Yes, to everything you said, I agree.
All right. So,
yeah, I mean, and I think you've articulated really well, and I think just taking off from what Naomi said, the thing that it was a very difficult movie to balance, and one of the things that this movie is really about, and we don't talk about it enough, is this amazing love story between Cam and Sam. And for me, it's such a tribute to Andrew and Naomi, because even when I saw the movie for the first time, it was so profoundly moving to me, that coming back to each other, that connection. And for me, that is the biggest theme of what we're all dealing with now, is just, that love can, get us through.
Conquer all. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, not to be corny, but yeah.
Well, isn't that the trick with a movie like this, is a true story, and to tap into what is really moving about it as opposed to sentimentalizing it. Glendon, do you want to address that?
Yeah, I guess there's, I guess one of the things that we really helped us tap into some of the other layers of, say, Sam Bloom's character was reading her diaries, which really gave us access to, things that probably Sam would never say out loud. And definitely, it was actually really eye-opening, I guess, gaining access to what someone actually goes through after they've had an injury like this. It was very honest and raw and revealing. And I guess for me, it was trying to find ways of putting those elements, or I guess those feelings, into the film in a heightened way, and I guess in a cinematic way. The book itself, Cam and Bradley's book, it's very simple. It's almost poetic and lyrical at times, and it's like one line in a photograph. So I felt really it was trying to find the most visual way of expressing these ideas as well, and trying to maintain that simplicity in the story, almost like it has a storybook quality.
You did a great job with that. Andrew, how did you and Naomi bond with each other, with the kids, and with the Blooms in terms of pulling this family together, creating a family?
Quickly is the short version.
Because you came in late, right?
Yeah, I did. I swung in late and had a...
Did you have your Australian accent already prepared?
It was ready packed. Yes, it was. And then I unveiled it on the crew. And, everybody in England thinks they can do an Australian accent until they come to Australia. And so we did a lot of work with that. And then working with 3 children for my first 2 days was probably like working with Meryl Streep. There was a lot of improv. And all I remember was the dialect coach just going, he's off script. He's off script. It's going to be enough. So there was, I kept saying to Bruna, my accent will be ready by ADR. I think that's my but
unnecessary.
but no, it was, I just want to say as well, I was drawn to the project because it is a love story fundamentally. And the beautiful thing about meeting Sam and Cam, I think, was absolutely instrumental in everybody just clicking into a different way of honoring their story and trying to do justice with honesty and love, and there was an extraordinary atmosphere on set, that my family was there, Naomi's family was there. There was this extraordinary cast of really generous actors and crew, and as Glendon said, and everybody else, when you're dealing with someone's true story, you just want it to be I just wanted to bring as much truth from my life and imagine what it must be like, and just listen to megawatts really above me.
So Naomi, I understand that Sam was on set with you, helping out, giving you real details, that you guys were generous enough to give her your house. which I want to live in. I'm ready right now. I love that house. And tell me how you managed to bring all that authenticity to the portrayal of Sam.
Well,
Naomi.
yes, because you said it. Sam was so incredibly generous and open, and like Glendon said, was willing to give me journals, and I felt like it was golden to be able to get into that and have a relationship with Sam and hear all of these intimate details of how she walked through this period of her life. And it's very daunting taking on a role of someone who's still around and very much in the picture. You have a great responsibility, and you want to get all of those beats exactly right, and tell the story in the most authentic way. And having access to Sam, although it's scary because you just want to impress them and deliver, and it was wonderful to be able to connect with her, and yeah, she was there on the set often, and I think I had it all worked out with all the planning and discussions going into it, and then something would come to me and there she was, and I'd just go up and ask her a question, and it would give me a new idea and new perspective. It was wonderful having her around.
How did it feel, and this is one of the questions from the chat room, Sam and Cam, how did it feel to watch yourselves being portrayed? It must have been very strange and also hard, having gone through it. You could almost be experiencing some of it over again.
I think the first day on set, when we had arrived in the lounge room, was quite, no, traumatic is probably not the right word, but it was upsetting. Yeah, we were both quite emotional, and I think it was nothing too complicated in terms of what they were filming, but just hearing Noah's voice, and then I started getting all teary, and then Sam started crying. I think Naomi walked out and she was in tears, and yeah, I think it was just the fact that this project, had got off the ground, and wow, they were actually making a story about us. I think that was really special, and they all did it. They just did such a great job.
And when you finally saw the movie, did you respond then as well, Sam?
Yeah, I mean, it was so surreal. Since like Naomi played me, but it was amazing. Everyone was so compassionate, and I love the fact that Naomi would ask me to come to set, and just to watch, like, for example, her getting dressed, and I was just grateful that they kept it real and honest. That's what I was so grateful for. And Naomi was amazing.
But so many of the scenes in the film actually happened, like really happened. So, I mean, they're the ones that have probably had the biggest impact.
So I'm going to move to the press conference part of this. We've actually whipped through, and we have Andrea Case of CTV News Toronto for a question for Naomi. Asking an actor to portray loss and suffering can take a toll emotionally and physically on an actor. You have played very difficult roles in the past, like The Impossible. What attracts you to the challenge these roles present?
Well, this story, like Maria Bell and the Impossible, Bellon, sorry, is a story of, yes, lots of suffering, but also hope and resilience and love. And ultimately, I think as an actor, you're looking for a journey that travels to all kinds of places emotionally, This was absolutely representative of all those things that we look for.
So somebody wants to ask a question that I was going to ask you also. One of my favorite bits in the movie is when you're in the water singing Radiohead's I Am a Creep, right? How did that get into the movie?
Yeah.
Well, the character of Gay, who's a real character, and we just learned that they
She was the kayak instructor.
Yeah. Had much more of a friendship, I guess, than than just being a kayak instructor. And she told us a story about how she would take Sam down to that inlet and just hold her and let her float in the water. And it was just such a beautiful image and a way of, I guess, cementing a friendship more so than, a teacher in a student relationship. But it was very cold that day, as Naomi would be able to attest. And it was kind of off the cuff. Like we only had a small amount of time because mainly it was cold. We couldn't spend too much time in that water. And they started singing that song, and it was kind of beautiful, like just hearing them belt it out as the sun was setting and the water was rushing around them. It was incredible.
So Michael Sandoval of Muse TV has a question for you, Glendon. Enjoyed the movie so much. How important were the music choices? I just did that one. Other choices, though, besides Radiohead for the movie. The soundtrack is quite good.
Yeah, well, the actual score is by Marcelo Zavos. Worked with him very closely over FaceTime. I never met him face to face. We'd started working on the music once lockdown had kicked in. So he was working away in New York, which was being ravaged by the virus, and I was in Melbourne in lockdown as well. So it's very strange working very closely with someone but never meeting them. Like it was just purely over the screen. And then there's other pieces sprinkled through the film, like you said, like it's Creep. We've got Griffin was playing Blackbird on set, just on a guitar that was on set one day, and it just really struck me like it's such a beautiful piece of music and tied in thematically, I guess, with the film. And it just stuck in my mind, and we got Griffin to come into the edit suite, and it's kind of, I think it's recorded on my iPhone or like a little microphone we had in the edit suite. Just him trying to learn it, really. I like it sort of has a broken quality, and slowly over that sequence that it comes together with an orchestra. It's almost like the family is, a broken family is slowly coming together. So I really like the use of music. It feels very sort of intrinsic and spontaneous, which is what it was. It feels like it developed along the way, those pieces.
This is for Naomi. Oh, hello?
Oh, sorry. And Colin Hay's beautiful song.
Of course, at the end, yeah. Yeah. Colin Hay, he lives in America, but he's one of Australia's great songwriters, and that was the song that we all kind of fell in love with for the end, and he re-recorded it for the film.
Love that song. So Scott Orland wants to know from Naomi, in the film, the character of Gay physically and emotionally challenges you. Has there been someone like that in your own life who has awakened you from a fear?
Oh, gosh. Hi, Scott, first of all. I mean, many people actually in my life who have, had a really great connection with at different times in my life. I can't think of one specific one right now, but yeah, it's interesting. You can draw in people who have a powerful impact on you when you're going through certain things, and they stay with you.
I understand you're afraid of water.
Me? Well, I did have a near drowning experience in Bali, actually, on my way to Australia when I was immigrating. I was 14 years old and got caught out in a terrible riptide, and so I've never felt comfortable in the water since then, actually.
So was this a challenge for you on this movie? I mean, you're kayaking like a pro.
We did okay, right, guys? How did I do, Sam? Sam was there.
So Pauline Garcia says, congratulations to the Bloom family for sharing such an inspirational story. She loves Naomi and Andrew's performances. Her questions for Andrew. This is a very different character than the ones you've done before, not only Walking Dead, but also previous. So what was your preparation for this, and how is it different for you from some of your other stuff?
Yeah, it was... well, first and foremost, it was a true story, so that it changed a lot, actually. I think the moment that I met Cam and Sam, and we went surfing, and I met with Noah as well, you know, you just, as I said earlier, you just feel a different energy and responsibility. And also working, the script I felt was like a poem, a bit like the book. You know, it's fragments of scenes that have a sort of accumulation. It accumulates into this very powerful emotional story, I think. So it was more about you building a relationship with the boys. Naomi and I just instantly hit it off. And then trying to, you know, not get, you know, acted off the screen by a magma. So that was pretty much the job description.
So for the three actors from Matias Demeto, how did your experience as parents help you to develop these characters?
Do you want to start, Jackie?
Yeah, go, Jackie.
Well, I think all women and their mothers have conflicts at times, even when you adore your mother, and she adores you. I think you get that clash, that mother-daughter clash, and I guess I drew. I'm not going to get too personal, but I drew on that a bit. You know, that how mothers can irritate their daughters without even meaning to. Yeah, I haven't got a daughter, but I had a mother.
I think mothers and daughters can relate to that. So Jim Slotek wants to know, for Sam and Naomi, what were the hurdles that you needed to overcome to properly depict the reality of life in a wheelchair? And what mistakes do non-disabled actors make in this sort of arena? Start with Sam, or Naomi, go for it.
Yeah, I was sorry. Were you going to say Sam?
No, I was going to say the only hurdle you had to overcome was trying to stay in the wheelchair and not fall out.
Oh, I had a near accident. Oh, I did have an accident. I did fall over, fell out of the chair backwards, which was quite scary. But mostly for me was the getting in and out of bed transfers, and because you know it's very hard to tell in your brain to tell your legs not to move and use your core that you're so used to doing without even thinking about it, and I felt very self-conscious about getting that right, and especially when Sam was there. So we did lots of lessons beforehand, and obviously Sam is very strong up here, yeah, so it was just I was trying to get that right, and it was much harder than I thought it would be,
Yeah, you did a great job, though. I just kept telling you to switch your core off.
Yes.
Don't cheat.
Yeah. But for the most part, I got around on that wheelchair a lot, and we had it at home and stuff to practice, and I was just getting used to it.
This is from Russell Nelson for Andrew and Naomi. Did making this film make you reflect at all on what it really means to love someone as absolutely as Sam and Cameron clearly do? Andrew?
Yeah, I mean, I love the idea that overnight it changes their love, the love that they have, changes from, two equal partners into a carer and someone being cared for. And my grandfather had that experience, and it's in sickness and in health is always very moving. And I hadn't seen that expressed before on a film, that transition. And also the challenges it sort of poses when the person that you love, spatially you're compromised as well. So they're having arguments, and they need each other. They're sort of reliant upon each other. And I thought that gave a really interesting charge, and a subtle charge to a lot of the scenes that we got to play together, me and I. But I suppose I loved every part of this job because, you know, I'm a hopeless romantic. And there's nothing else. When it's all said and done, what else is there? You know what I mean?
I found the love story very moving, and I think a lot of audiences will too. Naomi, anything on this?
Yeah, I mean, I would just echo what Andrew said, which was so much at the center of this story. I don't think, I mean, it's hard to say with Sam sitting here, but it seems to me, the way I interpreted it, the only way through was with that connection that they have between Sam and Cam, and you know, and I think Cam really had to put all of his strength and all of his you know, emotional strength into Sam's journey of repair, and the family as well, and fix lots of things, which was just constantly heartbreaking for Sam because she wasn't able to participate in her life in the way that she used to, and it just had been taken away from her in an instant, and there's not much that you can do physically and except just live in your head, and that was a dark place for you to be, right, Sam? And
Definitely.
And it took a lot of strength, and I think you had a good backbone. Like, well,
even if it was broken.
Yes, I'm sorry.
It's stronger now. It's got right.
Yeah, you had some strength there, and great support from a wonderful husband and family.
Marvin Nolasco from Showbiz Report in London wants, Naomi, from you, what natural acting technique did you learn from your avian co-star?
Well, you just had to be patient. You just had to, you know, a lot of the time it was about letting the cameras roll, and you get what you get. And sometimes it was waiting quite a long time to get what we were hoping to get on the page. And then sometimes you'd get something that wasn't on the page, and it was just as interesting. And yeah, I mean, we had an incredible bird trainer who my son fell in love with, Paul. And, you know, it was, they just kept on delivering in the most brilliant ways. I would never have believed that I would have been able to hold a bird on its back under my chin. It was really wonderful.
Well, we're wrapping this up, so I'm going to ask each of you to just give us a quick sense of what you're working on next. What is up for you? And I'll start with Bruna.
Oh God. We're back filming, which is amazing. And feel very blessed in Australia. In Australia, filming a series called 9 Perfect Strangers for Hulu.
How about you, Glendon?
Yeah, like we are fortunate in Australia that filming is, you know, it's either happening or opening up. And as much as, you know, I like both television and working in film and television. And I'm looking at a new series, a television series, a 7-part series it's probably it's big. I'm thinking about it.
And yeah. Emma?
I'm doing a lot of reading, but really focused on getting this little film out into the world.
It's up for sale, so we may get some news, hopefully. Jackie?
I am filming. I'm in Montana working on a TV series and developing a film that I'm going to produce.
Excellent. Andrew, is there going to be a Walking Dead movie someday?
Yeah, everybody's asking me that question. We're working on it. Is the standard but I might do a play before that.
Cool.
Yeah.
And Naomi?
Yes, I'm actually in Canada, in about 3 hours north of Toronto in North Bay, and I start filming next week. I'm in quarantine. I'm filming a film called Lakewood.
Excellent. And I'm going to leave the last word to Sam and Cam. Thank you guys so much for lending the world your story. And
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye, all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.